Excellent. Well, David Kirsten here, and we are live with the first episode of Community Impact, a new show really focused on the East Bay community and nonprofits and really storytelling. And I'm excited to have a good friend and colleague of mine, somebody who I look up to in the video field, Stu Sweetow, who actually wrote the book on corporate video production, but we're actually going to focus on nonprofit and community productions that he does too. I think as a fellow videographer, there's nothing more exciting than filming people who care about what they do, be it business owners or community events. And he's done a number of great community events. And with that, I'm going to get right to Stu. um, Want to ask, how are you today, Stu? And if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about your story and what you do as your professional background.
Well, thanks, David, and I'm doing well, and I hope you're doing well too. My story. Well, I'll tell you where I got excited about video and film. I was in college, and a friend had a movie camera. We started making, experimental movies, and I just loved it. And I changed my whole course of study, took courses in cinematography, won first prize in the university's film festival, and that helped me get jobs as an audiovisual specialist. Did that for several years in universities and then in teaching hospitals. And then, eventually I started teaching video through UC Berkeley Extension. And then I wrote that book, Corporate Video, and have been in business for myself for well over 30 years. And really, what I've been focusing on is providing video tools to organizations, whether they're for profit or nonprofit, to help tell their stories and engage their viewers.
Excellent. And I do think that, this book would really apply to, nonprofits or anybody bes- apart, including corporations, who really wants to tell stories. Effective video is really about effective storytelling. And I think you really provide a recipe guide, so to speak, in this book about how to tell those stories. And I think I've thought about why there's so few people that do video effectively. And I think part of it is because it's so hard to do, in that you have to know so many different things, but it really starts with effective storytelling. Could you just tell us a little bit about kind of, how you start with, conceptualizing a video? I know you get into it in this book. If you don't mind just telling us a little bit about the process of how to get started with video.
Sure. Well, when I'm working with a community organization or a nonprofit corporation, what I try to do is delve into what they are trying to do. An awful lot of organizations have recognized that there's some problem. It might be a problem with the world, or it might just be a problem getting art distributed to more people. So I try to find out what they're trying to do, and then I try to understand what the larger concept is that viewers might be interested in. Whether it has to do with you know women's rights or having more opportunities for marginal people. There are so many areas that we need to repair the world in, and usually the organization is focused on one of those. And I try to find what is appealing to particular viewers. And you're talking about storytelling. Well, if we could tell a story that engages the viewer in terms of having an emotional reaction, that's one of the cool things about video that print and just still photos really don't do. With video, you're really seeing people and getting a chance to know them, and you could really develop an emotional connection with the viewer.
Excellent. And if there's something I've learned, it's really the beauty of video is that emotional connection. I think that think that's something that I see in your videos that really comes across, is your ability to bring that out in people and bring that out in events. And you actually have something to share with us, a video that you did. If you don't mind just telling us what that video is, and we'll go ahead and take a look.
Sure. There's an organization in Oakland called the Kpor Center, and they are dedicated to helping nonprofits and small emerging businesses who are run by people of color and by women, to help get them funding and help them be successful. So they had a guest speaker coming, Anita Hill, who was one of the people who was a victim of sexual harassment, allegedly by Clarence Thomas, who now is on our Supreme Court. And so she came and spoke along with their chief technology officer, who had some similar experiences. So the video, it's a little short video that will show their experience and and hope for the future too.
Yeah, perfect. And just for the viewers who may not remember as much of the backstory there, I know we were actually talking about it on the ripple effect with, or maybe it was in his class, Richard Johnson the other day, about she was the one who was harassed by Clarence Thomas, who you mentioned is now in the Supreme Court. And this is a little bit about her story. So you mentioned that, but I want to make sure I just fill out the initial story there.
Sure. Yeah. And this is going to start with the current focus on what's going on in Silicon Valley with venture capital.
Perfect. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Silicon Valley is the center of incredible technology. It's the birthplace of amazing innovations, a leading driver of our economy, and it provides opportunities for a new wave of employment. But the venture capital industry is still very much a boys' club. Despite Silicon Valley being the hotbed of innovation and supposedly a meritocracy, there is one problem that it still fails to solve: diversity. Women in increasing numbers are stepping forward to fight against a system that is resistant to change.
One woman is taking on gender discrimination in the workplace.
Ellen Pao publicly challenged this deep culture of sexism within VC after years of combating discrimination internally as a partner at Kleiner Perkins. In 2014, Ellen Pao brought charges against Kleiner Perkins for gender discrimination and retaliation. Women will be judged one way and men another. Ellen Pao, who had an excellent track record in venture capital, lost her lawsuit against Kleiner Perkins. The Ellen Pao verdict was a new low for Silicon Valley. This is nothing new. Before Ellen came forward, there were other women who spoke truth to power. Anita Hill seized the world's attention when she alleged workplace sexual harassment against Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas. Hill testified at Thomas's Senate confirmation hearing.
It would have been more comfortable to remain silent. But when I was asked by a representative of this committee to report my experience, I felt that I had to tell the truth. I could not keep silent.
Anita Hill showed deep courage in the face of hostility and attempts to humiliate her, persevering and testifying forcefully. Her stand inspired a wave of change. Women started speaking up about their own experiences being harassed, and women frustrated by how Hill was treated by Congress were inspired to run for office and to assume positions of power in the private sector. These two courageous women challenged the status quo. Sadly, it seems that too little has changed in the 26 years since Anita Hill stepped forward to speak out against sexual harassment.
The sexual comments, teasing, jokes, questions are the most common form of unwanted attention. Pressure for dates is often the next form of escalation, and the use of letters, phone calls, or in her case, graphic materials. It is a very common pattern.
And it's not just women. Marginalized groups from all walks of life are being persecuted for being different, for speaking the truth, and for sharing their stories. Anita Hill spearheaded the dialogue 26 years ago. Separated by time but united in a common struggle, fighting workplace discrimination, these pioneering women have inspired others to stand up and speak up.
It's complex. It's like there's one thing that you're not invited to. Is that such a terrible thing? But when it adds up and it's like, oh, but you were talked over. But oh, sometimes people talk over other people and it just happens. But it's this constant thing that happens to you and it happens to other women and it happens to minorities or it happens to people who are different. It adds up, and over time there comes a point where people realize, a lot of people realize that it is not an even playing field.
Ellen Pao has launched a new movement to give everyone a fair chance to succeed in tech. Project Include is the effort of 8 industry veterans, including Pao, and is based on their collective lived experiences as business leaders and women working in tech. The term the Pao effect refers to the dramatic increase in women filing gender inequality lawsuits and speaking up about discrimination and bias. The fight is far from over, and it is everyone's responsibility to speak out against inequality. We sit together, those who have experienced injustices before you and those who still experience it every day. We see you. We believe you. We've lived it, and we stand with you. The fight for equity in all spaces continues. No space, no society, no sector, including Silicon Valley and tech in general, can ever reach its full potential if it remains exclusive to a few. Through our collective voices and power, we can change the status quo by speaking our truth and leading the movement for a more equitable society.
All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to share that video with you.
Yeah, perfect. That was an amazing video, and I think it really shows the power of video. That's something on par with what you would see on CNN or CNBC or a mini documentary, and just a real powerful story and so professionally done. If you don't mind just telling us a little bit about kind of how you put that video together. One that was you put that together with your shop almost with working with the client. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had several meetings with the client. We gathered their visual materials, and, there's some video clips in there. We asked them who their audience is so that, we could really focus the attention to the audience. So, and then what I do is I write a thing which I call a treatment, and it's basically the structure before a script. They approve the treatment, and then I actually write the script, and one other people worked with me on the script. They in the Hollywood industry they call it a script doctor. So I wrote an initial script, and then she, being a woman and a younger woman too, had her own perspectives and added to it. So it was a joint effort writing the script. And then we gave that to the narrator. We brought a narrator to the studio. We allowed our client to select the different voices. And then we gave the audio track plus all of the visual elements that the client gave us to Mitch. Mitch is our staff editor. And he just did a marvelous job putting a few subtle special effects in there to tell the story, and we purchased the rights to music to put in there, so we put music in appropriate spots too. So so it all came together, and we're it's something that we're proud of.
Yeah, just a beautiful video, and I will put the link to it to see. Actually, I know over Zoom it doesn't come out quite as good as if you actually play it on a platform, a digital platform. So I will put that link. And somebody who does video, I just know what goes into putting something like that together, and it's really an impressive process that you perfected and you really outlined in this book. So, and the video speaks for itself as in terms of the power of video. I was going to ask you about why why somebody should consider hiring a video professional instead of trying to do it themselves. And I see this in your blog, and a amateur can't produce a video like that, needless to say. But do you have any thoughts on that? Why?
Sure. One of the things is the planning and really spending a lot of time to write a script that speaks to the audience, and finding the appropriate visuals and plenty of them to give it visual variety so that it maintains interest throughout the length of the program. One of the big things really that I see, and I've been teaching people how to use their cameras for quite some time. I see people failing to take advantage of microphones that are available and that can be plugged into cameras or can be used in the editing process. Too many do-it-yourself videos really have poor audio. And if you're working with community organizations and nonprofit corporations, the audio, what people are saying, is really the most important. That's where the story is being told. And if the viewer misses some important words, then why bother even making a video? So that's where using a professional or using professional tools like microphones can help make your video more effective.
Great. And I remember I actually read your book before I had even met you, and I was, I remember thinking, well, this guy is a true master of his craft. And I do see with video, almost more than any other field, that it's really, they say 10,000 hours to master something, but really with video, there's so many different things that you have to master. So I almost think to master video, it takes something like 40,000 hours or something. But I did want to, talk about, the different uses of videos in, say, the nonprofit community. And I think, advocacy is one of those things, that how you demonstrated in that video that, Silicon Valley is, technologically as advanced as it is, it's still, the data shows that it's still kind of an old men's club or old boys club, so to speak, on, the diversity issue. But I see video as an effective tool for, raising money and getting your message out. Do you have any thoughts on, what a nonprofit could use it for in terms of, say a fundraising video, and why that might be an effective way to make a pitch to raise money or to get your message out?
Well, what I'd like to do, if it's all right with you, David, is read from a letter. Really got a printed letter from a client thanking us for the video, and it kind of explains how they're using the video. They say that the video has provided benefits over and above those of fundraising and marketing. We show the tape to prospective new employees and to new employees during our orientation. We have an extensive library and videotapes. Our program, the one made by you, is the clearest. But they say that we show the video when we visit in corporations and foundations in order to request contributions. We raised over $100,000 during the year from these sources. We show the video to members of commissions who are unable to attend live demonstrations in order to give them a good sense of what we're all about. So this gives you some idea of how video can be used. Obviously, now you can use social media and use your website, and there's just lots of opportunities to to distribute videos.
Great. And people can check out your website too. You have a number of great, live videos with even, the Oakland mayor, other community leaders and groups on there. And you're really an industry leader in terms of doing video in the East Bay area. And one of the things that we've talked a little bit about is interviews as an effective use of the video medium. Would you mind just sharing our thoughts on, why interviews are so great as a use of video, and what people might think out of doing it in terms of putting together an interview?
Yeah, well, David, I think one of the reasons that interviews are effective is that, we as human beings, it's probably in our DNA, we want to see other human beings and we want to connect with other human beings. People watching an interview on their screen, it's like they're a fly on the wall. They're part of the action. It's almost like they're sitting there with the interview subject and the interviewer. So it's an opportunity for people to make a connection with other people, and we are drawn to faces, and that's why television seems to be so popular. People like to see other people, and in an interview situation, it's relaxing for the viewer. It's not like they have to look at someone like they're looking at us, who's looking into the camera. They're off to the side and just watching two people have a conversation, and they could just sit back and relax and not feel like they're being talked to, but to to listen to the conversation and to really become engaged with it.
Great. And I know I'd like to, maybe it's next time you're on the podcast, even do something in person, so to speak, to demonstrate this interview format. We're not quite out of the COVID situation yet to do that, but we do intend on this show to feature interviews in future episodes. And I skipped over this question earlier because I want to make sure we got to some of those other questions, but you have a very interesting blog and kind of a quick tips thing that you do about some of your insights about how to better use video in this pandemic era. Would you mind just sharing some of those insights with you and how people can, find more insights from you about how to use video or more effectively audio in the pandemic era?
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned earlier, I was teaching video through UC Extension, and even before that, trying to get classes going through my own company too. So I love teaching. I love sharing. I had a slogan I used to say, audiovisual consultants, demystifying the technology. So now with the pandemic, of course, a lot of our shoots got canceled, but people started calling us and saying, we want to make some videos ourselves. How can we best do that? So for one, I put up several blogs teaching them how they could use their iPhone or other devices, a few tricks on how to prop it up on books, for example, if they don't have a tripod mount. And then we explained to them ways that they could improve their audio. Recently, I posted a couple things that are basically from Zoom. At the bottom left of your screen, there's a thing that says audio, and you could click over there, and you could actually set your audio at manual levels rather than automatic levels. And probably you did that, and I imagine I did that too, because that way the Zoom system is not just trying to hunt to find what's the proper audio level. You're loud and clear. And then similarly with video, there's several ways that you could actually enhance your video. You could brighten your video. So there's all sorts of things that people can be doing to make better quality videos using Zoom and in their smartphones.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't actually realize that what you can help with too is if they are thinking of doing an event, you can help them set it up so that's an effective event to video. That really the whole setup and how you structure things is so critical, in addition to getting the good video feed and the audio feed. So if folks are a community group looking at doing video, definitely reach out to Stu to how to set that video up. And I just wanted to end with just asking you about who your ideal client is in terms of a community group or other organizations who you're kind of looking to work with as we come out of this pandemic.
All right. Well, one of the reasons I got into video is, I have this mission to repair the world, and it's, modest, but I'm going to do my small part. And my small part really would be providing video tools to people and providing information so people could use their own video tools. So that's why I got interested in working with nonprofits and community organizations, because, they have a story to tell, a mission to fulfill, and they have viewers out there who are willing and eager to hear what they have to say. But I want them to be able to use good quality audio, well lit subjects, perform editing in a smooth way that's clear and tells the story without drawing attention to the medium itself. So there's all sorts of ways that community organizations can be using video, and that's really where I've been doing most of my work, with nonprofits and community organizations.
Great. And that's why when I thought of starting this new podcast, I thought of nobody better to have on as the first episode than Stu to really help folks in, nonprofits or folks with a purpose to broadcast their message more widely. And thanks so much, Stu, for coming on to be part of this conversation about how community groups can spread their message.
Thank you, David.
Great. Well, that'll do it for this first episode of Community Impact. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And thanks, Stu, for coming on.